we're really back.
Yeah.
Before the break, we were talking about, and it's true. I mean, today's audience is missing out, I think, in terms of they have this 15-second attention span where you can become a multi-zillionaire on a TikTok video that has 600 billion views. But that's not the real artist. That's not what it's all about. It's too bad that our attention span is that of a Nash now, as opposed to, like we talked earlier, the deep cuts and taking time to find out who produced the album, who the crew was that was on tour with them, and all the pictures and all the other part that went along with it. There's back in our day, there was no video, so you had to kind of imagine what the bands looked like. So combating that in the future, what's your band doing?
Well, first of all, the people you just talked about, I do fear for the future of these people controlling the world, because the attention span, you're right, is absolutely horrible. And I think it's actually going to lead to the generation having global problems in the few years to come when they come to the age where they'll be controlling critical parts of the world. I honestly, I do. I fear this.
Well, we'll be senile by then, David, so we should be good.
Fair enough.
Well, jelly out of a freaking jar.
Well, and back to that, and David, I want to I'll pose this to you first. This has come up in a few interviews where you see these kids that are 4 years old doing Tom Sawyer on drums, and there's so much information for kids to learn. And I always talk about trying to learn, a Kiss tune off a vinyl record, where if you didn't have 16 RPM, you had to weigh it down with quarters to get the lick. What's your, I guess, in terms of, you see some of these kids, and how do you feel the playing has shifted from, when you were learning and I was learning to where it is now?
I don't know if the feel has really shifted a lot. I mean, I started learning on cassettes and just listening to the radio and recording songs on cassette off the radio. I mean, that's basically how I learned. I started playing when I was 9, and I got my first drum set at 10. But I mean, that's basically how I started learning. But I don't really know if there's, I talk about like a shift in the way they're playing, the musicianship, or specifically about the learning.
What about you, Richard?
So he was asking you, are you talking about how they're playing?
I'm just talking about the amount of information that's available, so you can pick up an instrument and literally learn how to play. You're seeing, I saw this little 9-year-old girl that was a virtuoso bass player playing a Jaco Pastorius piece. And I'm sitting there going, I know guys in their 40s that have been playing their whole lives that aren't as fluid, but the amount of information that's out there for people to learn and digest. I mean, how do you feel? But there's just so much information going on now.
Maybe there is a future. We've got some pretty talented, smart young people out there. Maybe I was wrong. I hope I was wrong, but yeah, you're right. I've seen that too, and it's amazing seeing little kids playing, covering things, or playing with live bands. There's a lot of talented people out there. So it carries over to all facets of life.
There's a major downside to all that, right? Like that's the upside, that you see these virtuoso kids, learning and playing all this, but those kids aren't going out and starting bands with other kids, right?
They're very good at recreating, but not very good at creating. And that's my fear.
Right. Right. Yeah. Everyone's become a robot, in my opinion. And don't get me wrong, their playing is great. Their playing is amazing. They're playing it note for note. But did it have a feel? No. Yeah. Could they write it? No, because these kids out there these days, kids aren't getting together and starting bands like we were when we were young, or that we saw when we were young. If you look at Guitar Center, it's going to hell. Their sales are tanking like crazy because kids aren't starting bands anymore. They don't have that passion. The only passion they have is, I'm going to get really good at this so I can put it on TikTok so I can try to go viral.
Exactly.
All right. That's what people are doing these days. And I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You don't get these kids who have been playing all through their childhood this instrument to get good at writing and jamming with other people, and then finally transitioning into a band, and then that band starts growing together, and then evolves into this next level idol type band, right? You haven't seen that happen for a band in, let's say, 20 years.
I agree,
right?
100%.
Because who's the next biggest band?
Yep. They haven't gone through that angst or that pain, or that they haven't gone through any hardship to write about, to feel, to emote something to the audience today, because they're in their parents' not even the basement, in their master bedroom and recording a TikTok video. I mean, they don't get it, right? They haven't gone through the stuff to create their own music. They can recreate it, yeah, but they haven't done the stuff that you guys have done, stuff that we've done. You know what I mean? So yeah, I totally understand that. But back to my original question: what's next?
Well, sorry, we kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah, no.
For us, we're going to try to release more music, right? We released Twine because we could not get our second EP out in time because there's too many logistics that had to be taken care of. So starting at the beginning of next year, early 2022, we want to get the second EP released. And to get that done, there's a few things that we need to square up, but hopefully we can get that done. And while that's being released, I don't know if we're going to really be able to get on the road yet because there's so many restrictions from COVID right now.
Yeah.
We plan on getting into the studio to track all of our phase 3 songs to try to prep that for release maybe later in 2022. I'm not sure, but that's what we're aiming for.
Okay.
We had the opportunity to meet with a gentleman earlier tonight, just before we did the interview with you. He's actually the tour manager for Michael Bublé, and he was telling us they had 117 people on the road, and if one person got the virus, they'd have to shut the whole thing down and house 117 people and feed 117 people, and that's a big production. I don't know what you guys would be going out with, but obviously that I'll put it to you, David. That would be a thought. I mean, people they don't think in those terms. Why aren't you going out? Well, it's a lot of money to tour a band, for sometimes very little return. Obviously that's a consideration that you guys are considering right now.
Yeah,
Right.
well, when a band first starts touring, I mean, to really start touring in the beginning, you absolutely need tour support because you're losing money. And then once you start making money, that turns into, okay, do we just try to go with bare bones or do we put some money into production? And usually the smart thing is to put some money into production, which means you're still barely making money. It's not until you really go kind of big before you start pocketing money. So by the time it gets to being that big, yes, it's a huge expense. It's really crazy. And you just have to decide how much are you willing to put up for production to make the band look and sound good, or how much do you care about putting in your pocket?
Well, and there's risk. We talked about this tonight too with this gentleman. I mean, you put all this stuff together, you work really hard, you've recorded some great songs. The payoff nowadays isn't obviously through the record companies and record sales. We know that's non-existent. So really, the money is going to come from the touring and the merchandise and maybe some hard discs that you've recorded, whatever the case may be. But in order to put that on the road, the risk is like, gosh, is anyone going to show up? Are they still too scared to come out? Are you fine? Well, and again, you guys haven't done it yet, I guess, but are you preparing for that in your mind?
We just have to wait it out. I mean, unfortunately, we need to let this COVID thing get past or get completely under control. But we just have to wait it out. So we're going to continue to write and record.
Yep.
Yeah, because the caliber, the level band we're like nobody's, right? We need to get out there with a bigger band, and open, for bigger bands to get that exposure. And I don't think we should go out on our own.
Nope, that's fair. Well, okay, I want to tackle that for a second. I see behind David a number of records on the wall there, and I did a little research on what's been going on the last few years with you and what have you. And again, I don't want to ask questions that's going to have you jump through the computer screen and try to choke me out. But when we got your press release, it ex-Korn drummer, but it wasn't a huge it was there obviously to grab the attention of people, but it really. The vibe that I got is, he used to play in Korn, but we're really going to try to promote this band as we are. Obviously you've had to answer and be asked all those questions. What's your viewpoint on that? You got to be tired of asking, and I apologize if I've asked it again, but you got to be tired of answering some of those questions.
Well, no, I mean, I'm proud of everything we did in Korn, but I mean, just start out the interview or whatever we're doing, the article. I mean, of course, they're going to say, ex-drummer from Korn, but the articles or interviews are about breaking the sequence, not about me particularly or my time in Korn. So I think just leaving it in the tag and the title is enough. And I mean, it is what it is. I mean, doing the introduction of saying who I used to play with is fine. I just don't think it's necessary to try to, have it as a big topic of the conversations, because that was the past. But I mean, it's obviously a definition of who I am. So it's necessary there, I think, but not really anything other than that. So that's why it's just really in the introductions.
Fair enough.
Well, I have a question for you. Kind of touched on what Richard said too, because really, we talked about influences earlier, but we talked about the need for touring, and you talked about opening up for a big band. So your genre, and you want to call it new metal, you want to, whatever you want to call it. What would be, I guess, your dream band to be touring with right now?
Our dream band to be touring with.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I don't know, Faith No More. That would be really good.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
I would say System of a Down, or Deftones,
yes.
or Limp Bizkit,
Okay.
maybe even Korn. Hey.
Hey, yeah. I don't want to get in the middle of something here, gentlemen, but
Slipknot.
well, and and it's funny, right? Because I was just reading about them that they're going to try to keep doing their festival or whatnot, but just when everybody looks to throw the dirt on this type of music, that it's gone and it's dead, and the critics, and I remember when the old LA thing went to grunge, and so what, something comes out and there's a resurgence, and it keeps going. I was reading something in Blabbermouth about Limp Bizkit. I didn't even know they were back out until I read it. What do you think that is? What do you think keeps us going? Because I mean, eventually you're going to have a bottleneck of bands that are just putting stuff out for the sake of putting something out. Cream always rises, but why do you think this style just keeps sticking around?
At risk of being criticized, I will say, because it's probably kind of better than the stuff that's coming out new.
Fair enough.
Up to date sound, not reminiscent of the old style.
Richard?
Don't hate people, to be honest.
No,
I think it always comes back around, right? I mean, we had a little bit of resurgence of the 80s music. We had a little bit of resurgence of like, classic rock with what's that band called? The band that sounds just like Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
It starts with an A. Yeah.
Something Van Fleet or Van Houten. Something.
Greta Van Fleet.
Yeah. I mean, it just comes back around just because, music evolves, right? So the music sound keeps evolving. And once it's evolved enough and you haven't heard a particular sound for a while, and it comes back out, it's fresh again, right? So at this point, it's fresh again, because you have all of the rock and metal bands that have, roboted them, made themselves so mechanical with all of their riffing. If you listen to metal bands these days, you hear they're filling every ounce of space with some sort of rhythmic guitar strum or drum fill or something like that. You know what I mean?
Foaming patterns.
Yeah, it's just all hectic now, right? All the metal that I've heard that recently is super hectic anymore. And new metal is more like relaxed, right? It has room to breathe and everything. And I think people it's fresh to them now.
But at the same time, and guys, we want to be respectful of our time. We'll close in a couple of minutes here, but something that I found listening to your track, and I was a bit of a kind of a, I guess I call it a kind of a punk rocker kind of guy. In my early age, I liked it, the melodic punk stuff, and I guess the common denominator is that it's, if you're the stuff that you guys are writing, what I felt, and what you and I talked about earlier too, Richard, was like, if it's identifiable with the audience, it's you're creating it. So yeah, it's new, it's fresh, but people can relate to it because it's a little bit of a rebellion. And all through modern rock and roll, from Elvis Presley right on, it's been about rebellion against what was norm. So that's what I got when I listened to your stuff. That's still rebelling against the norm, and I think there's going to be an audience that will identify with that. So good on you guys for writing that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, and breaking in a sequence is basically breaking into the norm to create a different outcome, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah,
so you got it. You got it from just hearing hearing the
Yay!
track.
Not
All
bad
right.
for
Well, I mean-
today's Canadian boys, eh?
Yeah. But what I liked, I mean, as a drummer, and when I heard the track, you had the kind of the I'm not going to say electronica, but you had that really neat, get you little sort of sound in there with some neat hi-hats thrown in, and it sounded fresh, like to me, like the first time I heard it when your publicist sent it to me. And some people might go, that guy's like a heavy hit and whatever, and it sounds very finessey. But I also read something where David, where you said you felt it was maybe some of your most technical playing that you've played before.
I don't know if I've ever called it my most technical playing. It's I mean, I don't even think about what I play. I just write and play whatever I do.
Right on.
To me, it's his return to form, right? It's like the return of David, because when we first started writing the first EP, I don't know if you've heard this before, but when we first came together as a band, we wanted to be a rock band, right? So as we kept writing, we just started slowly getting heavier and heavier because David was starting to return to form, right? He hadn't played drums for real in about 13 years. And as he played more and more, he started hitting harder. He started, getting his chops back and everything. And as he got his chops back, Joe and Mike came in with heavier riffs. And as they came in with heavier riffs and David's hitting harder, I was like, okay, I guess I'll start screaming, over some parts. And everything got a little bit more abrasive, So I think that Twine is kind of like a return to form for David.
Right. I love it. But I love what you said there. It's like people will buy authenticity if you meant it. If that's what it's evolving into, that's what it's supposed to be. Well, the people will gravitate towards that. They'll buy that shit, right?
Well, we can only hope. Or stream it, really, because you can't really buy anything anymore.
Yeah, there's that dirty word again. But you know what I mean? It's interesting, David. You probably played a little bit in 13 years, but you and I both know it's a physical instrument, so there must have been a little bit of wear and tear on the body when you're first getting back into it. That you had to go through.
I wouldn't say really wear and tear other than my hands,
Yeah.
The blisters and such, but everything else, I mean, just muscle memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, because I had somebody that is another drummer here, and they said if you can ask the question, because they were trying to find this out. I guess we'll say your top three people that I guess influenced you as a player.
Well, I can tell you two for sure. Well, no, I guess three. The first concert I ever went to was Motley Crue. So Tommy's got to be in there. And Mike Warden must be in there. And Tim Alexander must be in there. Those three.
Good. And you mentioned Tommy. A little shameless plug. The mini series on Tommy and Pamela's a little thing from the 90s is going to be out in February, so everybody tune in. Didn't get paid to put that in there, but I thought I'd throw it in there anyway. So
I wouldn't call it a mini series.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So listen, where can people buy your stuff? So I mean, not buy, but it's like, where can they find you online? Is Facebook, Instagram? Is there? Do you have your own website now? We can talk about a little bit.
Yeah. So you can find us on the socials. Our handle is Bias Band OC. Facebook, same thing, Bias Band OC. You can find us on YouTube at Breaking in a Sequence, and at our official website, biasofficial.com. You can find merch.
Perfect.
I want to thank you guys for doing this. Sorry, go ahead, David.
I said, and eventually, hopefully, you'll find tour dates on our website.
Yeah.
We will look for that. And it
Look
took
for
us a little
Canadian
bit.
gigs.
It took us a little bit to get this set up. You guys are on the we're on the East Coast. You guys are on the Best Coast, I guess they say. So there is that time difference. We appreciate your patience. Just I guess anything you want to share with the people that are going to see this. We get upwards of 10 to 12,000 people looking at these interviews on any given time, up and all around. But anything you just want to share with them about what you guys are up to and what have you.
Sure. are very much forward looking to release new music. We can't wait for people to hear Phase 3, and we absolutely cannot wait to be able to get out on the road and play in front of people and share the live songs with them. Thank you for your patience. Stick with us. It's going to be good.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you to you guys for having us on, and thank you for everyone who supported this band from day one or just found out about us. Stream us as much as you possibly can. Show your friends, because these days we got to get rock bands back out there, right? There's too much electronic music going on, right? So let's get rock bands, people playing real instruments, people that aren't auto-tuned to shit. Let's get that back out there, because the passion will come back to music.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thanks so much. And again, thank you for your patience in setting this up. We did get it done, and a lot of people are going to be very interested. I actually posted this twice, and I had a lot of comments on it. A lot of people really, really liked it. I liked it, and looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you. See you guys later.
Bye now.
There you go.